Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophets Speak. Today we continue our study of the book of Proverbs, that is Sefer Mishlei. We are in chapter 1, about to study verse number 20. In the last podcast, the author of Proverbs, Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, told us that we should avoid listening to the advice of sinners because they are going to drag us into violence and ultimately into our own ruin. So rather than listen to them, who should we listen to? We should listen to wisdom, which we're about to study now in verse 20. So don't go down their path, because that will lead to ruin and destruction, not only of the people that are your victims, but yourself as well. Chachmos, and literally that means wisdoms, but in a feminine form. But it's usually translated as wisdom, representing wisdom as if it was a being in it of itself. Wisdom being a concept. Imagining it, kind of anthropomorphizing wisdom as a being, as a person or an angel or something like that. Bachutz torona. So wisdom calls out in the outside, calls out in the street, right? As opposed to, remember, before he told us not to follow the path of sinners. Sinners are always looking at, with you, or several ways he told us how to know who's a sinner, right? One of them was that a sinner is only looking out for their own profit. A sinner is always, but another one is, he said, the sinner will always tell you, let's sneak, I have a special secret, let's do this in the shadows, let's ambush others, let us take advantage of others, and they won't even know it. However, Chachma, wisdom, Bachutz torona, screams and cries out in the street. Wisdom comes at you. It has nothing to hide. Birchovot titein kola. Its voice is heard in the streets, in the avenues, in the marketplace. Birosh homiot tikra. Among all of the noisy and loud markets, that's where she calls out. Bifische she'arim, in the gateways. In the olden times, in the cities, the gateway, the entrance to the city was full of hustle, bustle. That was where all the action was. But here in the city, Amorea Tomer, that is where she says her words, she says her teachings, out in the open, in the public, for everyone to see, for everyone to hear. Admosai, and what does she call out? Right? She calls out as follows: Admosai pisoyim te'ehavu pesi. For how long, until when, will fools just love their foolishness? They're just going, fools meaning people that latch on to ideas of foolishness, foolish ways of thinking, ways that aren't guided by wisdom, by knowledge, by experience, but foolish ways. They keep holding on to it. How long will they hold on to it? Velates him and scoffers. I think the best translation really is cynics, right? People that don't take things seriously. Everything is a joke. Nothing is real. Everything is just, they're cynical about everything, not willing to accept anything as true. Latzon chamdulahem, they love their cynicism. They love their scoffing. They love to scorn and make fun. Uksilim, and again, it's another word for a fool. Yisnu udas, will hate knowledge, right? The key thing here is that the guidance, the way to get through life is through knowledge, through wisdom, through experience, through learning, through knowing, not following stupid ideas, stupid things that don't take anything or anyone seriously. In a day like today, in our time, how true it was back then and how true it is today, that people refuse to accept real wisdom, real knowledge, and instead don't take anything seriously. They scoff at everything. Nobody, nothing is real. Everything is a joke. Everything is not serious. And rather, the ideas that people do hold on to are the foolish, silly ideas that have no relevance to truth or reality. Tashuvu l'tochachti. Turn back and listen and pay attention to my tochacha. Tochacha is rebuke or reproof. Listen to my rebuke. Now, this also gives us a little bit of a hint as to why people don't like to listen, because nobody likes rebuke. Nobody likes to be told they're on the wrong path, that they have it wrong. Everybody wants to think that their opinion is the right opinion, and to tell them to change, nobody wants to do that, right? Hinei abi alochem ruchi. I am telling you, ruchi, that which is in my spirit. And this is another thing about wisdom. Real wisdom is when a person tells you what he or she is really thinking, what he or she really feels. They're not telling you what they think you want to hear, what they think, they're not putting on a show, but really they believe A, but they're saying B because that's what they think you want to hear. No, they're telling you, Ruchi, I am spilling my true spirit out. I am telling you what my words reflect what is truly inside me. Odia dvorai eschem. I am letting you know my words to you. I am saying them to you. Verse 23, Ya'an karasi vatimaeni, but because I have called out vatimaenu, and you have refused me, you have refused to listen, you have been reluctant to take heed of my message. Natisi yadi, I have stretched out my hand, I reached out towards you to teach you, to tell you how to avoid terrible fate, to avoid destruction. Ve'ein makshiv, but nobody is listening. I've been trying. The knowledge is there. The truth exists. The truth is out there, but nobody is listening to it. How much more true is that today? We'd rather listen to all kinds of crazy nonsense, but no one wants to listen to the truth. No one wants to listen to real, true knowledge. Vatifru kol atzasi, you ignored and you've torn up. You've turned away from all of my advice, v'tochachti lo avisem, and you did not listen at all to my tochacha, to my rebuke. Verse 26, Gam ani be'edchem eschok. So I am going to laugh when your time comes. And I'm going to laugh. I'm going to be sitting here. I told you, I did my part. I did the best I could. But when your path, which is leading straight to hell, straight to destruction, and when I say hell, I don't mean a place of fire and brimstone. I mean, it's leading to destruction, right? I'm going to laugh at you when you get there. El ag bevo pachtechem. When the thing that you're afraid of, all the things that you're so afraid of, and you're listening to all kinds of crazy nonsense in order to stay away from there, except for real wisdom, except for real knowledge that you're refusing to listen to, I'm going to be there laughing. Because I was here, I told you what you could have done. Bevo kisho apachtechem. When your fear arrives, that very thing that you were afraid of arrives like a storm. The word sho'av is, of course, famous. It's used in modern Hebrew as the word for Holocaust. But when your terrible fear comes like here in this context, it means a terrible storm, a dark thunderstorm. V'eidchem, and your time comes, your time of destruction, kesufa ye'eseh, will arrive upon you like a sufa, like a whirlwind or a tornado. Bevo aleichem tzara v'tzuka, when suffering and distress and trouble comes upon you. Oz, then yikrounani, then you're going to come to wisdom and say, oh, what should we do? What should we do? How do I save myself? V'lo ena, I will not answer you. It'll be too late. Yishacharunani, you will search after me. V'lo yimtzounani, but you will not find me. I won't be there anymore. It'll be too late to stop. The wisdom was there. The science was there. The knowledge was there to tell us how to stay away from these things. It just reminds me so much of the words of the Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim of Maimonides. And for those of you that aren't aware, on my YouTube channel, you can see podcasts of my lectures in Moreh Nevuchim, where Rambam says most of evil can be stopped simply by wisdom, by knowledge, by knowing. Right, most of calamities we can stay away from by using our head, by foreseeing potential disasters and avoiding them and taking precautions. Tachas kison udas. Why is it that now you cannot find me because you have hated knowledge until now, right? V'yiras Adonai lo b'choru, and you did not choose the fear of God. Now, as I mentioned in the first podcast, and I mentioned in many of the podcasts throughout our study of Tanakh, throughout our study of the prophets together, the key thing here is it is knowledge that you can use to set your life on the proper course and to avoid these terrible disasters. But how do you acquire knowledge? And the Mishlei, the teacher of Proverbs, is teaching us the fundamental idea that underlies the entire Torah, the entire teaching of all the prophets, and that is when one has awe of God, right? That is how one accumulates knowledge, and it's very simple. It's not a deep concept at all. I mean, it's deep, but it's not a complicated, complex concept. It's a very simple concept, and that is that when one has true awe of God, one naturally develops true humility. When one is in awe of the greatness of the world, of the universe, of the creation of God himself, one realizes how tiny and how small we are. And it's only through humility that one can achieve and acquire knowledge. This is an underlying theme throughout the book of Mishlei. The people so deeply make a mistake and think that people of faith or people that follow the teachings of Tanakh, of the prophets, are somehow ignorant of science because we don't search for knowledge, and nothing could be further from the truth. The book of Mishlei is teaching us that exactly the opposite is the case. Through the true humility one achieves when one realizes the greatness of everything, of the creation, the greatness of the universe, and how tiny and how minuscule and how small we are, one is immediately filled with humility and recognizes that everything I think could be wrong. There's so much for me to know. That's the only way to achieve and study knowledge, is by having that humility to realize that my stupid little measly tiny little dumb opinions are useless and meaningless, but there's so much more out there for me to learn and study, so I can get rid of those tiny little stupid little ideas, the ideas of the pesi, of the fool, of the ksil, of the another word for fool, of the lates that we're talking about here in Proverbs. That's how one comes to knowledge, and that's how one can use that knowledge then to prevent calamity. Lo avu latzosi, this is verse 30. You did not listen to my advice. No atsu, you hated kol tochachti, all of my rebuke. And what was the result? Verse 31, v'yochlu mipri darkam. You ended up eating the fruits of your labors, the fruits of your choice, the fruits of your way. The path that you chose led you to get to exactly where you are. Umimo atzosehem yispa'u. And you filled your bellies with the results of your own plans, of your own path that you chose. Verse 32, Ki meshuvas pisoyim tahargem. It is I love the translation I've seen in some, the waywardness of the fools is itself what is going to kill them. The fools that refuse to listen to knowledge are going to die because of their own foolishness. That itself is going to be what they suffer from. Vishalvas kesilim tabdeim. And the peace of fools is what's going to ruin them. The peace thinking, oh, everything's going to be fine. It's all going to be good. Everything's going to be fine. I don't have to do anything. This goes directly against the idea that one can have faith in something, and therefore that faith in something is somehow going to save them. What Mishlei is telling us is that we have to follow the wisdom, follow the knowledge, and take the actions necessary to make sure these things don't happen. Just sitting around being at peace because you think something's going to come and save you, that's foolishness. That's shalvas kesilim. That will end in your destruction. If you sit around, if you think that having faith means that that's all you need to have and that faith alone is going to save you from something, you're going to end up lost. You're going to end up suffering from something that you could have prevented if only you took the time and paid attention to what wisdom and knowledge had to teach you so that you can take actions to avoid it. It's action that's necessary, but action based on wisdom, action based on true understanding and knowledge. V'shomei ali, but if you listen to me, says wisdom, yishkon vetach, you will live and reside with security, v'sha'anan, and you will have quiet and peace, mipachad ra'ah, from the terrible fear of evil, of bad. So ends chapter 1 of the book of Proverbs of Sefer Mishlei. Again, thank you so much for participating in this podcast. I look forward to studying Mishlei chapter 2 and the rest of this wonderful book. I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful day.